That night, posted by the Chicken05 on No Sleep. Hi, if you're reading this, make sure you never experience what I have experienced. I'm a security guard, so I work the night shifts. It was mostly catching teens trying to graffiti the walls, homeless people trespassing, the normal stuff. But on one particular night, I was in the security room checking cameras. I think maybe an hour went by when I saw something abnormal. It looked like a tall but heavy thing with a smile up to its eyes like the Cheshire Cat, and drool dripping from its mouth. All it was doing was staring up at the camera. I thought maybe it was just teens playing a prank to scare me. I thought, very funny. So I got up to tell the kids to go home, but when I checked, there was nothing. I went back to the security room. I opened the door, went in, and saw letters on every wall saying, "You look tasty." I thought, how the hell did they get in here? But I shrugged it off. Darn kids. I, of course, cleaned it and went back to work. Then I saw it again, but now it was waving at the camera with that unsettling smile. I immediately ran towards the front to find nothing. Then when I was about to go back, I heard a whisper that said, "You look tasty." I looked back to see that thing I saw in the cameras. I said, "You kids go home, enough playing around." But it just stood there. It kept saying the phrase over and over again. "You look tasty. You look tasty." Then I saw it slowly move towards me like a man shaking. But then it immediately ran towards me. I was so scared. I just stood there for a split second, and then I had enough courage to run into the building. It was running like a cheetah. It had no life in its eyes, just a black abyss. Then it slammed into the door. It looked like it was hungry for something or someone. I just hit the lockdown button as fast as I could to secure the building, and I waited what seemed like an hour. I checked the cameras to see if it was gone. I was relieved when I didn't see it. I kept watching for what seemed like hours until I fell asleep. 30 minutes later, it was at the end of my shift. I didn't pass this along because they would think I'm crazy. I never saw that again. I quit my job right after that shift, and now I work at retail doing only day shifts. Just hope the other guy doesn't see what I saw. I now live a happy life with my family, hopefully to never see that thing again. Just thinking about it makes me want a glass of whiskey. I heard on the news a guy was found dead in an alleyway. He was a security guard like I was. Here's a drink to you, buddy. Noises in the Dark. Posted by user notnotbatmanmaybe. It was the beginning of November, and night came a lot quicker than I thought it would. My yard was pitch black on account of there being no streetlights anywhere. I had had a porch light at some point, but after replacing it 2 times in a row in like a month, I gave up. The absolute darkness almost made me forget why I had come outside, or just made me want to forget why I had come outside. I had heard a strange noise. It was only 6 p.m. and the fact that it was so early made me stupid brave despite the darkness. The noise was hard to describe. It had sounded like laughter, but not anything like human laughter. Halloween had just ended, so I thought it could have been some kind of decoration somewhere. Maybe some kind of scary clown thing? Nope, fuel for sure. I left the safety of my porch and ventured out into the darkness, flipping my flashlight app on as I crunched my way through the leaves. My fingers hung over the edge of my screen, creating insidious shadows as I walked. The fear was wearing off, and now I was starting to feel silly. Why was I even trying to find the source of this creepy-ass noise? I was a grown woman out in the dark looking for an imagined boogeyman with a creepy laugh. The logical part of my brain knew boogeyman didn't exist, but also needed some kind of proof so that the other 95% of my brain would allow me to sleep if I ever could again. I had turned to head back to my apartment when I caught sight of my monstrous finger shadows and something else. A darker shadow darting out of my light. Logic no longer existed. I barely saw the thing, but I could tell it wasn't moving right. It was impossibly tall and didn't seem to be clothed. It had been on all fours and its knees seemed to be bent at the wrong angle. The moment it left my light, I was running for my door in terror, everything moving in slow motion except for my heart. I was clutching my phone, the light bouncing wildly, making it impossible for me to tell shadows apart from monsters. Logic came back for a brief moment and then was gone as it made a noise not too far off behind me. I hadn't even heard it until it was right up on me. I fumbled with the door like everyone does in horror movies, my fear making my hands useless. I don't even remember how I got the door unlocked, but I did, and managed it before my knees gave out and I was reduced to a trembling pile of gibberish. I stayed there all night, listening to it scratch and whine at my door. It laughed again, only once before it finally left. I don't go out at night anymore. People think I'm crazy. I even think I'm crazy now. But they hadn't heard it laugh, hadn't seen it coming at them from the darkness of their front yard. Monsters didn't exist, but I had seen one and heard it. I still hear it. I don't know if my neighbor owns a monster or is the monster. Written by Bloody Spaghetti on No Sleep. So I have a new neighbor who moved here from Ethiopia. His name is Ayako. He's a pretty chill dude, speaks perfect English, albeit accented. We're on great terms, and in a few short months he's been living here, I can say we've become friends. I really like the guy. Definitely better than my previous neighbors. They freaked out every time I threw out chunks of meat away. I mean, I have nothing to do with that. I can't eat that, so it should be understandable, no? Ayako doesn't care. I think he's even interested in the meat I'm throwing away. The other night, he asked me if he could come have some of what I was bound to throw away. Until recently, I had no idea what he wanted to do with these bones, but now I know. And honestly, I think it's kinda cool. I'll let you in on a little secret. I dabble in some dark magic, as the kids would call it. I'm mostly trying to communicate with higher life forces. I guess you could say something along the line of lesser beings of the Cthulhu mythos. I know I'm coming off as completely out of my mind right now, but I swear, I've seen these things, some sort of an anthropomorphic sort of insects or birds, or I don't even know. They've cured me and the rest of my family from some sort of insane flu strain that would have put the Black Death to shame had they didn't interfere. Ever since then, I've been trying to reach them. Turns out blood is really great fuel for interdimensional travel. One time, I've managed to reach the dimension of my saviors, but the portal collapsed because the fucker whose blood I used died on me way too early. Now, before I get branded as some insane maniac, I'd like to point out that I've never touched anyone innocent, other than the typical school fights way back when. All of my blood donors are criminals lawfully convicted, or those whom I catch myself, usually in the act. Luckily, the city I live in is riddled with crime. Anyway, back to Ayako. So the other night, I was sleeping when suddenly I heard someone screaming out of fear like an adult man was screeching, in a very high-pitched tone. Pure terror in his voice. I know how that sounds, trust me. So I go outside to check out what's going on. Boy oh boy, I didn't expect to see what I've seen. I see this poor bald chap dressed in fancy clothes being dragged into my neighbor's house by some sort of hyena-looking thing. I'm saying hyena-looking thing because this was definitely bigger than your average hyena, and also because there was something kind of off about its face. The beast noticed me looking at it as it bit again and again into the screaming man and looked at me. I think it smiled at me before letting out a chuckle. I know hyenas don't laugh unless they are threatened or stressed or something like that. That thing, it was completely in control of its prey, which I might add was all bloodied and bruised. One of his legs was partially bitten off, and an arm was definitely missing. Poor Ayako had to scrub all that blood from the paved path to his door the morning after, but I digress. It was almost an honor to get to see a wild beast hunting live. I've always dreamed of seeing some top predator hunting in the flesh. Call me weird for that, but I think the other animals are just far more fascinating than humans. So yeah, as I stood there and admired the beast's work, it managed to drag its prey into my neighbor's house. The screaming didn't die down for a while. Lucky for us, nobody lives close by, so Ayako won't have too many problems with his, pet. Now here's the reason I'm posting this here. I'm not really sure that this mega hyena was your typical animal, or like, cryptid. Nah, I don't think it was just like a beast of Gabaden. I think this thing is human, or at least partially human. See, I couldn't really go back to sleep with all the screaming around me, so I grabbed a smoke and enjoyed the cool night air while an animalistic slaughter was taking place in my neighbor's house. Just as the cries of death died down, something caught my attention. Ayako's house was dimly lit the whole time, and I just happened to catch a glimpse of the beast's shadow rising up to stand on its hind legs before I think, and I can't stress this enough, I only think so, but the beastly shadow turned into what seemed to be a shadow of a man. Now, I don't know if this was, in fact, some sort of were-hyena or something, or it's just some creature Ayako brought with him from Ethiopia. I'm just intrigued, but not sure if I should ask him or not. Either way, I don't mind, to be honest. I think it's kinda cool. Not to mention how I could just let him have the meat husks I throw away. That would definitely serve us both well. All in all, Ayako can sleep quietly at night knowing his secret is safe with me, just like mine is safe with him.